Good evening, and welcome to Knowledge and Networking, the virtual event. The knowledge presentation for this evening's meeting is on the topic of tips for locating off-market properties. The search for gold. This is compliments of reiknowledge.com, supplier of free knowledge, resources, and contacts to real estate investors of all levels, powered by our readers. Let's talk about tonight's presentation, what and where it's happening. When you came in, you entered into the reception area. That's where you arrived, and also if you're in any particular area of tonight's event and you want to exit that area, you can click on reception to exit the area that you're in. Once you migrated from reception to where we're at now, we're in the stage area, and this is where the knowledge portion of the presentation will take place. At the end of the presentation, we will move to the sessions area, and there we'll do group networking. And of course, after the presentation, you can also go to the expo area to check out and interact with some resources that are our supporters. First, let's get the small print out of the way. Essentially, what we're saying is that there are no guarantees expressed or implied that the viewer of this presentation will go out and make a gazillion dollars. We don't endorse any of the resources mentioned or referenced in this presentation, and that any investing any of the viewers do, they do on their own behalf, not with our support. We would like to take the time to acknowledge a couple of our supporters. One of them is fundingforproperties.com. Securing funding shouldn't be stressful. I mean, let's face it, every deal needs money, but it doesn't necessarily have to be all your money. So if you're trying to find money for your deals, go to fundingforproperties.com. Lone Coffee Company. They want to share with us their Winter Frostbite Winter Blend, which is a dark chocolate. Pretty cool flavor and will definitely get you juiced up and rocking and rolling for your rehabs. So why search for off-market properties? Well, a few of the benefits of finding gold could be less competition, perhaps lower chance of bidding wars. Oftentimes, whenever you're trying to go after something that's on the MLS, everybody else is, and now you get into a bidding war. But if there's less competition, preferably nobody knows about it, then the bidding war goes away. Opportunity to negotiate directly with the property owner. Many times on off-market properties, you're dealing directly with the owner themselves. There's no third party, which would be a realtor. They don't exist in the deal. So you have a greater chance of being able to negotiate directly with the source. Better chance of discovering their pain points. You can find out exactly why they're thinking about selling. May not always be the price. It might be other things. Maybe they need to relocate for employment or divorce or lack of employment. Could be a lot of the reasons. Perhaps more attractive purchase price, producing greater equity or profit for you. Once again, you might be able to negotiate a better price without the third parties trying to interfere. Possible opportunities for creative deal making or creative financing. There are times whenever you're dealing directly on an off-market property with the seller where maybe, and you find out their pain point is not necessarily the money that they need today. You can maybe work out some creative financing with them, whether it's owner financing or lump sum payments or whatever the case may be. Maybe a lower commitment deposit. And once again, when a realtor is involved, sometimes they state what the deposit is going to be to hold the property and get it under contract. When there's no realtor involved and you're dealing directly with the seller, you might be able to negotiate a minimal deposit to paper it up. Chances of comfortable closing times and terms. When you're working with an off-market property and you're dealing directly with the seller, the property owner, a lot of times you have control of the negotiation. So you can throw in there clauses for extended period of time to close and or terms. So let's talk about some of the common standard ways of locating off-market properties. Of course, these are things that perhaps most of you have heard of. Foreclosures, whether it's buying a list. List pendus is I think the Latin term for it, but essentially it's a foreclosed property, or it's on the docket to be foreclosed. They've already filed a lawsuit to be able to commence foreclosing on the property. Those lists of those properties can be purchased. There are membership sites where you can enroll and it will make you aware of them. You can also go to HUD and HUD.gov and or HUDhomes.gov and find their list that they're auctioning off or selling, as well as VA, Veterans Association. In addition to foreclosures, there's of course searching the obituaries, and once again there are skip tracers or list builders that do that, and you can buy the list of who's passed on recently and how to reach out to their heirs or estate. Same thing with divorce filings. There are companies that gather that information and they'll sell that information, and then you can reach out and find out, were any of the assets ready to be divided up or sold. Expired listings. Of course, these come from typically via realtor. These are listings that were one time on the MLS, didn't sell for some reason, and now their expiration period is gone and they're in an expired stage. Vacant property from the USPS, that's the United States Postal Service. They're actually companies that gather that data from the post office and then sell it. However, what you call a vacant property and what the post office calls a vacant property might be two different things. Typically, if it's a vacant property on their list, it means that there's mail collecting that hasn't been gathered. It could simply be that the person's traveling extensively and forgot to forward their mail. Local auctions. These are, of course, courthouse steps auctions, could be back taxes, could be water bills or different purposes that are selling it off. And then, of course, the one staple, magnetic car signs, the We Buy Houses or whatever it is on your car door. These are all things that you may or may not be aware of, but they're somewhat common ways of finding off-market properties. But in addition to that, let's take a look at the few resources on the internet. Facebook groups and Facebook profiles. There are actually Facebook groups that you can do searches for to find wholesalers, find off-market properties. You can even narrow it down to geographics if you want, or property type. But Facebook groups can be a useful resource on finding wholesalers and finding off-market properties, as well as Facebook profiles. You can plug in keywords and search people on Facebook that maybe are designed to solicit and sell off-market properties. You can do the exact same thing with LinkedIn, both in groups and profiles. You can join groups where wholesalers hang out and advertise their properties, or of course you can post in those groups looking for properties and they'll reach out to you. And you can do the same thing with the profiles. You can put in keywords and find wholesalers or people that are looking to sell properties. One site that has been around for quite some time is myhousedeals.com. It is a membership site, but they offer a free membership as well as a paid membership. Of course, the paid membership gets alerts of the properties available quicker. It's not really expensive, and one time the site was exclusively only for off-market. However, realtors eventually discovered the site and they started putting listed properties on there. So maybe not 100% of the properties on the site anymore are off-market, but it still could be a good resource for you. And you also might be able to find contacts there besides properties. New Western is a nationwide wholesale company. Their makeup is they essentially negotiate and get under contract properties that are off market, and then they sell them to people within their network that are, real estate investors looking to buy properties. So you could reach out to New Western and see if they have a local office near you. Craigslist is not as big as it used to be, but it still can be a useful source for finding off-market properties. Believe it or not, wholesalers still advertise there as well as some homeowners occasionally. If you're looking in the real estate section, you can put in keywords like ARV, which would be after repaired value, or fixer-upper, or needs work, or things of that nature to be able to find the fixer-uppers if you're looking for those. If you're looking for rental properties like turnkey rentals, you can put in the term turnkey or rental or 100% occupied. Again, key phrases to be able to find what you're looking for. Auction sites that are online are Williams and Williams, Hudson and Marshall, Bid for Assets, RealtyBid, and Auction.com. Each of them auction different types of properties at different times. You would want to go to their websites, read about when they have their sales, when their auctions start and stop, what the terms of the auctions are, if there's a required bid deposit to be able to get registered to bid. And you also want to look and see if there's a premium that's added on the winning bid. Sometimes it's a percentage added to the winning bid that goes to the auction site. So you want to make sure that you're reading all the fine print. House Cash In and also Keyglee are two sites that you can search to be able to try to find off-market properties as well, along with the two forum sites that are directed towards real estate investor networking and connecting, and that's Connected Investors and Bigger Pockets. Once again, you can read people's profile, you can post in their forums, you can read the posts that are already there, and probably locate off-market properties and wholesalers at those sites. And HomeVestors.com. HomeVestors is a nationwide company. They're actually a franchise company, and they have franchisees throughout the country. You can reach out to them at their main website, locate their local franchisees, and then reach out to the franchisee and see if they're offering properties to the real estate investors wholesale on a regular basis. If you're not able to find the local office that way, you can actually find them through LinkedIn by putting in keywords of HomeVestors, and you can probably find the profiles of the franchisees throughout the country. Now, let's take a look at other sources besides the normal, the common, and the online. Wholesalers. What a wholesaler does is they basically mark their source for off-market properties. They gain the properties under contract, and then they turn around and either sell them or assign them to the next buyer. These are the guys and girls where you see the signs, we buy properties, or sell your house, or I'll buy your house in one day, those kind of ads. Those are typically wholesalers, not all the time, but there are a lot of times wholesalers looking to gain properties and then pass them on to other investors. You can find these wholesalers online, like some of the sources we already talked about, as well as going to the face-to-face real estate investment club meetings. I will share with you that there are a lot more wholesalers than there are any other type of probably real estate investor, because it's a low cost of entry to get in, and they don't really go to closing on a property, so they don't need to be able to engage and commit as much. They just need to source and gain under contract. However, finding a good wholesaler is like gold in itself, because if they know exactly what you want and they're good at their job, they can bring you good deals. So don't discount wholesalers. However, you may have to burn through a few to get a really good one. Settlement agents who specialize in servicing real estate investors, they have a barrage of buyers and sellers, realtors and wholesalers coming through their offices on a regular basis. So they a lot of times have access to people that are thinking about selling their property, and they have not yet taken the time to advertise it. So it's a very good idea to become buddy-buddy with settlement agents that specialize in servicing real estate investors and the people that do business with real estate investors. Pocket listings. A pocket listing comes from a real estate investor-friendly realtor. Essentially, these are listings that they are familiar with before they hit the MLS. They actually have a period of time that has to be on the MLS before they can go under contract to be technically be a pocket listing. But it's very smart to have relationships with real estate investor friendly realtors. One way you can find those realtors is go to HUDHomestore.gov. That's HUDHomestore.gov, and then you click on broker search. And then you can narrow down where you're trying to find that broker, the state, the zip code, and so forth. And then you can Google them and look at their profile online and see if they specialize in working with real estate investors or not. If they're a registered broker on the HUDHomestore.gov site, they're only there for one of two reasons. They're there either because they specialize in selling to first-time home buyers that might be thinking about buying a HUD foreclosure, or they specialize in dealing with real estate investors who are thinking about buying a HUD foreclosure. So you got a 50-50 chance that if they're listed there as a broker, they work with real estate investors. That's an excellent way to find real estate investor friendly realtors. Once again, we'd like to acknowledge our supporters. BusinessMasters.com is an affiliate of Builderall, and Builderall is a do-it-yourself website builder. It's probably the best out there, probably the best on the market, the best for the buck. Has tons of tools to be able to build an awesome website, including creating sales funnels, and shopping carts, and oh my goodness, all kinds of things, autoresponders, webinar builders. It's amazing for one low cost. So you can go to businessmasters.com, and for a low cost, you can start designing your own website. We would like for you to check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com at REI Knowledge 007. And this presentation will be uploaded to that after we've presented it, and a couple of days have gone by and we've had time to move it over there. But also previous presentations are there, as well as some of our other recordings. So check it out. If you have a product or service that our readers could benefit from, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at hello@fuelforbusiness.com and tell us what you have to offer. Now, let's look at some additional resources. Accountants, bookkeepers, and tax preparers can be a resource for locating off-market properties, because often they service the real estate investors. They're doing their tax returns, or they're doing their bookkeeping. So if they have a landlord who is growing unhappy with one of his tenants or is becoming a pain in the rear for him, they sometimes will vent that to the accountant or tax preparer. So getting buddy-buddy with tax preparers and accountants to service real estate investors is a good idea also. Of course, all these referral sources are going to want to get paid a fee for referring the project over to you. Typically, what you would do is negotiate a fair fee that makes sense, and then pay it to them once you take title of the property and the deal is complete. Real estate investing groups are obviously a fantastic resource. You may even find some here in the virtual meeting. Networking with other real estate investors. What we used to say is, to the landlords, let us be your aspirin for any headaches that you have that you'd like to unload. Also, a lot of real estate investment groups, if they're part of an the national REI, they get a free website. So a lot of them will be wholesaling their properties on their website. You can go to the local REI. In other words, if you go to nationalrei.org and then locate down to your local real estate investment club, click on that website, you can often search the properties for the members of that group that are only listed on that site. And once again, they're off market, so that's a good way of finding them. Bandit signs. Now, of course, the bandit signs are the yard sale style design. We buy houses. But have you taken the time to place these in the properties that you currently own? Let's assume for a second you're a landlord. Let's say you have 10 properties that are rentals, whether they're single family or multifamily. Each one of those 10 properties is a candidate for putting a sign on or in the yard. If you have any traffic going by, they should be reaching out to you for any properties that they would like to sell. Even if you get calls on stuff you don't want, you might be able to wholesale it to somebody who could use it. And of course, in addition to that, if you're rehabbing properties and you're not renting yet, but you're rehabbing a property, you should most definitely have the sign in the yard, "We buy properties," while the rehab is taking place. A few more resources. The thrift store. Thrift stores can gain their merchandise in part from people who are getting rid of stuff. Sometimes getting rid of stuff is a step in the direction of putting a place up for sale. So getting cozy with the thrift store owners and supplying them with cards might bring you some prospective sellers before they actually list the property. So once again, if you're thinking about selling your property, you're going to clean it out first, get rid of the junk before you maybe even start doing some maintenance on it. And either dumpster rental, which is our next item there, or a thrift store is going to be the places where you're going to be sending stuff when you're doing your cleanup. So also get buddy with some of the local dumpster rental companies, because oftentimes a for sale by owner, before they put it up for sale, they might take stuff out to the Goodwill or the thrift store, bring in the dumpster, start filling up all the junk, and of course they can, the dumpster rental company owners can refer people over to you. Now, something that has worked for us very well in the past is gaining off-market properties from contractors themselves. Contractors that you have, especially if they're good contractors, they're keeping themselves very busy, and sometimes they'll be doing homeowner work, and they know that the homeowners are getting ready to sell before the homeowners actually start advertising it. And or they might be doing work for other real estate investors, and that other real estate investor may have voiced the fact that they want to sell the property as well. So gaining gaining referrals of off-market properties from contractors can be an excellent resource. The last one we'd like to talk about, which is probably the one that requires the most work. So it's the last option, but it also requires the most legwork, but it can be very fruitful, especially if you're seeking only one off-market property at a time. So what you do is, we call this working the hood. So you choose the neighborhood that you want to buy your properties in. It could be one or it could be more than one. Then you match your needs and get to know everything about that area, everything that's around that neighborhood. And then you target these sources and utilize these tools. So you would post bandit signs anywhere that you're allowed to post in the neighborhoods where you want to buy. Bandit signs being, again, we buy houses and your phone number, or I want to buy a house and a phone number. You can do door hangers. These can be very precise. You can say, I need to buy a house in this neighborhood, with your contact information, and you just go door to door and put them on the hangers. Now, often some of the local businesses in those communities have bulletin boards where you can post flyers in these businesses like churches, laundromats, convenience stores, senior centers, community centers, painting supply stores, believe it or not. And also you can put an ad in church flyers. Some of the churches actually have newsletters that they produce. Some of them produce weekly, and they hand them out for free to their members, and they allow advertisements to take place. It's very cheap advertising, and you may get some churches that have some large membership. Most people go to church close to where they live. So once again, you're going to target the communities where you want to buy houses, and you're going to target the churches in those communities. See if they have a flyer or a newsletter, and see if you can advertise in it. Now, you can do drive-bys. Drive-bys are basically you're writing down properties that look like they're neglected or vacant. You can look at the for rents and focus on the properties in the communities where you want to buy that have a for rent sign, that look, again, like they've been neglected or they need some TLC. And essentially what you do is you go ahead and call and say, listen, I was calling about your house for rent. Can you tell me a little bit about it? They're going to start telling you about it. You're going to go, well, that sounds great. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever considered selling it? Now, you probably stand a greater than 50% chance after you ask that question of hearing this answer. Well, make me an offer. And your response could be, well, I probably would like to, but first I have to take a look at it. And then, of course, then you go out and take a look at the property, and you start running your numbers and see if it makes sense. And you go back with what makes sense for you to be able to buy it. Normally, if a property's got neglect and it's up for rent, it's a sign of typically one or two things. Either it's an out-of-town landlord, and they don't know that it necessarily needs that much work, or they're having some financial concerns, and they can't put the money into it that they want to put into it. In either case, it's a good candidate to be able to try to buy. Garage sales and yard sales are, once again, just like dumpster rentals and thrift store trips. These are normally precursors to a house for sale sign going up. So not always, but a lot of times when they're downsizing, they're getting rid of junk, they're having garage sales and yard sales, and they're doing that before they start putting out the for sale sign. So what we used to do is we used to hit every garage sale and yard sale that was in the neighborhoods we want to buy and start looking to see if there's signs, especially if the house is looking a little rough too, that it could be a potential on the market soon, so we want to catch it before it hits there. And of course, block captains and neighborhood association presidents, they know everything that goes on either on the block or in the neighborhood. They know who's having financial problems, who's having marital problems, who's getting transferred out for work, or who needs to downsize, kind of thing. So normally they're more than willing to share with you information, and they can be an excellent resource for finding off-market properties. Well, we hope that you've enjoyed this evening, and we would welcome you to engage with us. The way you can engage with us is through our Facebook page, which is REI Knowledge page when you're on Facebook. And you can also go to our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/group/REI Knowledge. And of course, we have our weekly newsletter that comes out, and you can subscribe for free to get free updated industry news, knowledge, resources, and contacts. And you can do that at reiknowledge.com. We welcome your questions to this presentation, and you can direct any questions over to us at hello@reiknowledge.com, and we'll be happy to respond to you. And now it's time to network. So we want to make connections. We want to share what you have to seek, or what you need, or what you can offer. And of course, exchange contact information, and above anything else, have fun. So here's a reminder of how we can network tonight. When we leave this area, there's an area called Sessions, and it looks like that blue crown up in the left-hand corner. That is what you want to click on, and you will be able to go into a group networking event, like a Zoom meeting. When you get into that room, you're going to be asked to allow audio and video to be turned on. You have to do that, or else nobody's going to be able to see you and hear you. So when we leave here, go to Sessions, just click on Sessions, that little blue looking crown, which is actually a bunch of people in a circle, and that will take you into the room, and then engage your audio and video, and we can network together. Now, in addition to that, you can also pop into the expo area. The expo area is where our supporters are at, and you can check out their products and services to see if they could be helpful to your business. If you're in the expo area or the Sessions area and you want to leave, you can just click on Reception. Click on Reception, and it will exit out of the area that you're in, and then you can go into another area. So first, we're going to go to the Sessions area. At any time during the evening, you can chat with the other attendees. If you look up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see that event, and on this screen we're looking at here, we have an example down in the lower right-hand corner, but once we leave this stage area, it'll be in the upper right-hand corner, and you can click on chat. Once you click on chat, you can start typing. Anything you type in there, all the attendees can see. So if you've got a property that you're trying to sell, you can type the address in there and the contact information of how they can reach you. If you're looking for properties, you can type that in there and your contact information of how they can reach you. If you have services to offer, products or services, you can type that information in there and how they can reach you. And anything you type in there, everybody can see. You can type as often as you want in the chat message. If you got 10 things you're trying to sell, you can type 10 different times in there. Everybody will see it. The other item there is people. When you click on people, it'll show you everybody that's registered and attending the event. And then you can actually click on the person's name and start communicating with them if you choose. So when we leave this area, we're going to go to the Sessions area. So all you have to do is exit out of this area by clicking Reception, and then click Sessions. So click Reception, and then click Sessions, and then allow your audio and your video to be used. And we will see you in the Sessions area and have some fun networking.